So let's talk about something huge, financial freedom. It's a goal for so many of us, right? Well, today we're going to cut through all the noise and focus on one incredibly powerful, really simple rule from investor Grant Cardone. He claims it's pretty much a guaranteed path to getting rich.
Here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll tackle some of the big myths that trip people up. Then, we'll look at what it actually takes to build those income-generating assets. After that, we dive into Cardone's big rule. And we'll finish up with the 2 disciplines you absolutely need to make it all happen. But before we jump in, just think about this for a second. What does that phrase, financial freedom, actually mean to you? Like, what pops into your head? Is it a number? A feeling? Because the most common answer people have is actually a myth that holds a ton of people back.
All right, so let's start right there by blowing up the biggest misconception of them all. So many people think financial freedom means you have to be a multi-millionaire, just unbelievably rich. But the reality? It's so much simpler than that, and honestly, way more achievable. It's not about some giant imaginary number, it's just a simple equation. And this is what's so cool about this definition. It takes this vague, fuzzy dream and turns it into a clear, mathematical goal. Let's say your total monthly expenses are, $30,000. The second your assets start kicking off more than that every month, you've done it. That's the finish line. And these assets can be all sorts of things, right? From real estate to digital stuff like ebooks or online courses. All of this creates what everyone loves to call passive income. But that term itself leads us right into another huge misunderstanding. Yeah, this idea that passive income means you do zero work, that money just magically shows up in your account while you sip drinks on a beach, well, the source we're looking at is really, really clear. That is completely 100% untrue. Okay, so if it's not effortless, what does the work part actually look like? Let's get into the specifics. This lays it out perfectly if we just look at a rental property. You've got to do the research, find the money, get the place ready, market it, find tenants, deal with their issues. There is a ton of work on the front end. You literally have to build the money-making machine before it can start running by itself.
And that right there is the key difference. Once you've done all that heavy lifting, the asset starts working for you. It's not like a normal job where if you don't show up, you don't get paid. A well-built asset can bring in cash whether you're actively working on it that day or not.
All right, now we get to the absolute heart of this whole thing. This is the one non-negotiable rule that Grant Cardone says is a surefire path to wealth.
It all boils down to this single number, 40%. It sounds simple, but it is incredibly powerful. So here's the crucial part. This is not about saving whatever's left over at the end of the month. No. This is about taking 40% of your gross income, before taxes, before anything, right off the top and putting it into investments. You pay your future self first. No excuses, no exceptions.
So think of your income as this pie. 40% of it gets locked away immediately for investing. That means the other 60%, that's it. That is your absolute limit for everything else you spend money on. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Your rent or mortgage, your car, your food, your vacations, even your taxes have to fit inside that 60%. And that obviously takes an unbelievable amount of discipline.
Which brings up the big question, right? How on earth can anybody actually live on just 60% of their income? Well, this is where 2 essential and connected disciplines come into play that make it possible.
It really comes down to a 2-pronged attack. First, you have to be obsessed with increasing your income, making enough so that 60% is actually plenty to live on. And second, and this is the one where almost everybody fails, as your income goes up, you cannot let your spending go up with it. You have to resist that temptation. And this visual just nails the mindset shift. The normal path is you get a raise, you get a nicer car. You get a bonus, you get a bigger apartment. That's lifestyle inflation. The wealth path is you get a raise, you increase how much you're investing. Your investments get an upgrade, not your lifestyle.
So we'll leave you with this really bold guarantee from Cardone himself. It's a pretty provocative claim for sure, but it boils this whole complicated idea of wealth down to a simple, though definitely not easy formula of discipline and focus. The only real question left is, could you actually stick to it?